you could give us just a couple of highlights from what you would say to people out there in business at this time. How can they use their intuition the best? How can it serve them? I'm so excited that you are here. I am Maria. This is the Strong Body, Strong Soul show right here. And one of my favorite guests on the podcast in the past has been a beautiful psychic medium. Her name is Gail Serna. And I've invited her here right now to have a conversation. With the quarantine, the pandemic, business is changing, but I want to talk to her about how she works her business, and then we're going to get into some of her psychic intuition and insights that she might have for us as well. So I want to welcome Gail Serna. Gail, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. How are you, Gail?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well under the circumstances. I can't complain. How about you?
I'm great. Now you have a house full of family members right now as well, right?
Yes, my two college-age kids are home. They were pretty devastated when they got the order to move out of their dorms and come home. And my husband's working from home also, and so am I. So
wow.
We are definitely all under the same roof.
Well, I'm so interested to talk to you because obviously I so appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy, and I know a lot of your business is connecting with clients through technology like this, even though it's a spiritual nature. And so I was curious if you would explain to everyone, because there might be people out there that might be able to use some of the tools that you've discovered, and how to work that kind of business in when you do have a house full of people. How does that work? Do they walk in on you? How do you organize your time too? So first of all, what platforms are you most comfortable with?
I use Zoom, just like we're on right now. I can also use the phone if someone's not comfortable with Zoom. Zoom does allow you to have a recording, and it's free for the customer to download. So it's like my office. I really consider Zoom to be my office.
Okay.
And if I'm in a session with someone, I just let my family know, not to disturb me. I have my own office space. So my husband's office is in a different part of the house. My kids are using their bedrooms. So it's great. This is my little sanctuary. And this is where I hold all my client sessions.
That's wonderful. And you're able to work with clients, and you have been for a long time in different states. Do you go outside of the borders of the U.S.?
I do, as long as the customer speaks really good English and is comfortable paying our currency. Because a lot of the times it's more expensive for them to have a reading with an American versus maybe somebody that's local to them. So I let them make the decision. But I definitely have had people come see me from Canada. I've had a couple from England, Australia. So
fantastic. Now, what kind of payment method have you had the best luck with?
Oh, so I have an online store, and if people want to have a reading, they just go straight to my website and go to my offerings, which is what I consider to be my online store. And my sessions work by time, so it depends on how much time somebody wants to spend with me and the nature of the issues that they're trying to gain clarity on.
Okay, but are they using PayPal or Venmo or
PayPal?
PayPal, okay. And through PayPal, even if somebody is international, it converts the currency to US for us?
Yes, and you can also use a credit card.
Okay, fantastic. So have you ever had problems with Zoom bombers? Let me ask you that first, because that's a big thing that's happening right now. The Zoom platform itself is getting overrun with so much activity. Have you noticed any difference lately?
Luckily, I haven't experienced that problem. My kids use Zoom for their college and they haven't had any problems. I have my own account. I believe there's different protocols in place that Zoom is instituted now, and I even updated the latest version of Zoom. So
Okay.
I think they're maybe ahead of the curve on that now.
Well, how long are your sessions normally? Do you have to pay for a Zoom account or are you able to operate within the free program?
Oh, I treat Zoom like I would if I rented an office space.
Okay.
So I actually pay for my Zoom account. So time is
Okay.
no limit.
Interesting, interesting. I actually was talking to somebody earlier today, and they were saying that unfortunately, some of the paid accounts are getting more targeted, I guess. And
Oh,
instead of the individuals, I don't know why. Maybe they feel like there's more gold to get there, whatever the hackers are looking for. Because my daughter with her school, they did get Zoom bombed the other day. Somebody came
wow.
into their classroom and I felt so bad for the teacher because the teachers are doing such an amazing job trying
Yeah.
to switch the learning to this online technology.
Huh.
And so they'll figure it out. It's getting better, the security measures that they're putting in place. But let me
Right.
ask you about the recording that you just mentioned, because I talked to somebody the other day and they were saying they don't record their calls. But for your purposes, obviously for a psychic reading, a lot of times people do want that audio so they can hear it later, right?
Well, yeah, and it's recorded in the iCloud. So it's easy to email someone the link. It's not a problem.
Uh-huh. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now, so if someone were to contact you for a reading, what does that entail? I know you said it could be different time periods. What's the shortest one you have to offer?
So the way I use all my spiritual tools in a reading, and it really depends on what the needs of the client are, what I do decide to use, or what intuitive senses I might um, offer up in a reading based on the client's needs. But I have a single subject 20-minute reading, which is good for one question that you need clarity on within your life. I have a half-hour session, an hour session, and a 4-hour session.
Oh,
And
wow.
also on my online stores, Intuition Development 101 and 102, which are 5-week classes that I teach to help
Oh,
you develop your own intuition.
wow. So when you record, those are pre-recorded sessions that people can purchase.
The classes aren't pre-recorded.
Oh,
I'm teaching live and I'm
oh,
also, the sessions are live, but I press the record button.
okay. Okay, I see. So do you have one coming up soon?
And if you go to my website, you'll see the dates and times. And I also send people all the coursework and the syllabus that they need for each week before the class starts.
Okay. And then how does that work as far as on a Zoom call, for instance, you're on the screen and then the participants are there as well? And can they participate and ask questions through Zoom? Is that how that works?
It's the same format as you and I are having right now.
Okay.
Correct. Uh-huh.
So everybody's on there so they can use the chat or speak. That's fantastic. I know you and I have had so much fun in the past on the podcast, having interviews about the angel readings, angel cards. And like you said, I understand those are tools and it depends what you're feeling about the client, what they need. I just want to also say how much I appreciate you, Gail, for coming to the networking meeting, by the way. That was a couple of months ago now, and you were able to speak to a business group about using their intuition in business. And I'd like to ask you if you could give us just a couple of highlights from what you would say to people out there in business at this time. How can they use their intuition the best? How can it serve them the best in this period of time?
So our God-given tool was really our intuition, and a lot of people feel they can't hear their own guidance. And generally, it's because they're so in their left brain thinking with their thoughts that are just always going. So, the first thing I would tell anybody is to take a breath and try to focus on something else other than the thoughts, to get yourself over to the right brain, which is where your intuition lies. Being out in nature is another really good way to stop the negative thoughts from streaming in. So that's the first thing. And if you're wanting to use your own intuition for any decision you might have, let's say about working with another client, should you take that client as an example, you can quiet your mind by taking like a yoga breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then once you've quieted the mind, ask for an awareness of your intuitive guidance to come through. Imagine yourself with a beautiful pink sea of love around you, and then just see what happens when you pose that question, should I work with this client? How do you feel about that? What's happening in your stomach? Are you super, super anxious? Do you have a sense of calm about you? So if you have a sense of calm about you, that's your intuitive sense of feeling telling you that you can go forward and work with that client. If you have a sense of anxiety about you, that's saying, well, more research needs to be done before you sign on the dotted line with that contract, let's say.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Also, can I add to that? Just because I think we're going through obviously a hard time right now with the pandemic, we don't know what's happening. So I want to bring it into this situation a little bit too, in terms of trust. Because if you say no to that client that you don't have a good feeling about, like you were just saying, I think it's so important to know that by saying no, you are opening your time and space for the right client to come in. So that's that
Mm-hmm.
end result of making room for the right person is so important, I think.
Correct. And by really paying attention to your gut, your other brain centers would be your heart, your third eye, and then up in your head with all those anxious thoughts, you could really start to sense and know what feels right to you versus what doesn't feel right to you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Gail, for taking the time to talk with us. And you guys, really, I've had a couple of readings with Gail. I've spent some time personally with her for myself, and she's amazing. I highly recommend her. And in a business setting, she was so impressive, really. So I would say, please, Gail, what is your website again? What is that for people?
It's soulscollective.com, SOULSCOLLECTIVE.com.
Beautiful. I'll go ahead and make sure to put that in the show notes here. I'm also going to put a link to the podcast episodes where you were a guest on the show, because people might be really interested in that, where we were talking about energy in those conversations. And I really encourage all of you guys out there to contact Gail if you're interested in pursuing this line of inquiry for yourself. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you for having me, Maria.
Bless you.